Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT04 and trying to make some decks that I know are going to be really good in the future and try to make them now so that way we have a good way to prep and transition for when those decks get more powerful in the future sets. And today's deck that I'm going to be looking at is going to be Yellow-Green Rookie Rush. Yes, it is exactly as it sounds, it's just Rookie Rush, but instead of blue, you're using yellow. And then the green parts are basically all the exact same. So for the most part, it's a rather interesting deck, and utilizing a lot of the yellow cards, we have access to some really new and interesting lines of play for the Rookie Rush style of deck. And because yellow is a color that tends to have a lot of card draw, we also have a decent amount of consistency to go with the deck as well. So without further ado, let's go over the deck, starting with the digitama. I'm going to be running 4 copies of Upamon, just because Upamon is a really good digitama to just draw us cards, but if you don't feel like using Upamon, you could use Cupimon, but the way that I kind of built this deck, Upamon just works a little bit better at drawing cards, where if we have 3 or less cards in our security, then we get to draw 1. Cupimon is pretty decent, especially in the early game where you could utilize it to just get that quick card draw, but Cupimon becomes less and less good the later the game goes, so I figured Upamon is just a better way of drawing cards as a whole. But the 5th Digitama could really be anything you want. If you wanted it to be the Cupimon, you could, but I'm just choosing to go with Koromon just because it has the same type of condition that Upamon has, except Koromon's ability could actually come in handy in different stages of the game because of his minus 1000 DP as long as you have 3 or fewer cards in your security when you're attacking with the Digimon. So this could be really good to de-incentivize the opponent from utilizing their blockers. It could be used to kill off some specific rookies. So it's not like it's a bad card. It's pretty decent overall, and that's why I'm choosing to run it as my 5th Digitama. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Aruraumon. So Aruraumon is just a vanilla green Digimon that we're playing just because it hard plays for 2, and it has 5000 DP. So that's really all we're utilizing the card for, is just that very aggressive stat line. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Liollmon. So Liollmon is basically just doing the exact same thing as Aruraumon, except just with a different name. So we really like this aggressive stat line, so we want to utilize it, and thus why we're running Liollmon. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Kudamon. So this is the BT01 version of Kudamon, and this Kudamon is pretty good because it helps with our overall consistency with our deck, because he has this nice when attacking ability where if we have 4 or less cards in our hand, then we get to draw 1. So considering we're going to be hard playing a lot of our cards more often than we're going to be digivolving, we're going to be running rather low on cards really quickly, so Kudamon is in here just to help us draw some extra cards. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Salamon. So this is the BT02 Salamon, and this version of Salamon's really nice for her on-deletion ability, where if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security, then we get to recover 1, and that just is pretty good considering we just want to try to bust into the opponent's security, and then if she gets deleted, which more often than not she is going to get deleted, we're going to be able to recover 1, thus keeping ourselves in the game a little bit longer. And that's just allowing us to be able to race our opponent even more efficiently than before, just because of that slight heal factor. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Falcomon. So Falcomon is the yellow version of basically Aruraumon and Liollmon, where again, we just care about the fact that he hard plays for 2 and he has 5000 DP. So just again, another vanilla with a very aggressive stat line. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of BushiAgumon. So BushiAgumon is a pretty interesting card. You could probably reduce him down to 2 and run 2 of like the 2-drop 3k vanillas, but I like BushiAgumon at 4 just because at worst I could still utilize him to digivolve into, and at best he's good at closing out games because he natively has the rush ability. Yes, you have to hard play him for 5, but we do have some ways to mitigate that to allow us to play BushiAgumon that much more efficiently, and BushiAgumon is again just acting as a really good game finisher, just because if we bust into all of the opponent's security, then they might not be expecting a BushiAgumon to come out of nowhere and take the game. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Pulsemon. So Pulsemon is just an absolutely insane rookie for this style of deck, just because of how flexible and versatile his ability is. So what his ability is, it's an on-play ability, where if we have 3 or more cards in our security, then we get to draw 1 card. Then if we also have 3 or fewer cards in our security, we gain 1 memory. And then if we have exactly 3 cards in our security, we'll be gaining both of those abilities. So this is just really good because the first part of the ability just allows us to draw some extra cards. So being able to keep our hand as healthy as possible is always a good thing. And then with his second ability, just being able to hard play him for effectively 2 is just really good on tempo overall. So he's just a really good card no matter what stage of the game we're in to just want to play. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Turuiemon. So Turuiemon is just another very aggressively statted Digimon. And then the only other level 4 in the deck is going to be 4 copies of Diatrymon. So Diatrymon is basically doing almost the exact same thing as Turuiemon, where we're really just caring about his high DP. Unfortunately, he does have 1 more cost to Evo than Turuiemon, but the trade-off is he has 1 less hard play for him. So this is just a little bit better in case we, for whatever reason, don't see any rookies, but again, all this card is really in here for is the fact that he is a level 4 with 6000 DP. And then the last Digimon of the deck is going to be the only Mega Digimon of the deck, and that's going to be 4 copies of Puppetmon. So Puppetmon is still a very key and crucial part in the Rookie Rush strategy just because of how powerful his on-play ability is. So what that ability is doing is it allows you to suspend one of the opponent's Digimon down, and then during the opponent's unsuspend phase, none of their Digimon can unsuspend. So that's just really, really powerful just because locking them down is just allowing us to buy some more time to figure out a way to push our aggression, and sometimes that is absolutely devastating and backbreaking for the opponent, and on top of which he has a nice when attacking ability where we can gain 1 memory, which gaining 1 memory actually does matter more in this deck than the others, just because yellow just has some different tools that might cost a little bit more, so as a result that 1 memory definitely is very nice when we can get it. Next, onto the option cards, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Needle Spray. So Needle Spray is still just another really good option card that we have access to, where for the low play cost of 2, we get to suspend one of our opponent's Digimon down, which most of the time it's going to be used to suspend a blocker, so that way we could bypass it to attack straight into their security. And then on top of that, it also has a really nice security ability where we get to activate its main effect and then add this card into our hand. So even when it's checked in the security, it could still be obnoxious and disruptive for the opponent. And then the only other option card I feel like running in this deck is going to be 4 copies of Blinding Ray. So Blinding Ray is just an absolutely insane option card to be playing just because it has the very powerful main ability to trash the top card of your security. Then we get to gain 2 memory. So yes, this ability does activate even if you are at 0 security, where you could just use this card to gain 2 free memory, and that's really, really important and really, really powerful, allowing us to make some very strong follow-up plays, like playing BushiAgumon. So this card is just a really good card to be utilizing at almost any stage of the game to try to help us put ourselves to 3 if we really want specific abilities to trigger, or we could use it to just close out games with, depending on what our follow-up play is. But regardless, this card is just really, really good just because of how powerful the memory gaining ability is. And then the last card of the deck and the only tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of TK. So TK is our memory fixing tamer for the deck, and he also is helping with the overall consistency with his on-play ability, allowing us to look at our security stack and then add 1 card from among them to our hand, and if that card is yellow, then we get to recover 1. And then, like I said before, he is the memory fixing tamer, so if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just set us to 3, so that way it makes our plays that much more powerful and that much more efficient, like lining up a Blinding Ray to then go into a Bushi. So that's just what makes TK a really important card to be playing in this style of deck. And then you still have a whole bunch of flexible options on different cards that you could run, all depending on what you want to use and what you want to gain out of the deck. So you could think about utilizing the rookies that have a 2 to hard play, 0 to Evo, 3000 DP stat line, just because it's still a very efficient and very aggressive rookie to be playing around with. Then, if you wanted to, you could run Liollmon, just because Liollmon is a really good card to help with the overall consistency of the deck, just because its on-play ability allows you to check the top card of your security stack, so just having that information is really good and allows you to play mind games with the opponent. And then if you choose to add that card to your hand, then you also get to draw one card, so it's effectively drawing you 2 cards, which is really good in a style of deck that is hard playing and not drawing as often, so having Liollmon to help draw some more cards is really, really good. Then, if you wanted to, you could also think about running Kudamon. So this is the BT04 version, and he has the nice on-play ability of allowing you to trash the top card of your security stack to give one of the opponent's Digimon minus 2000 DP. So that's just, again, another really decent card at just adding to the level of aggression, because you could use it to help stave off some of the opponent's board state, or make it so it's advantageous for the opponent not to block. So he's just another good card for that. Then you could think about running Lucemon. So Lucemon is just a really powerful card to be playing with overall. He is a little bit harder to play in this style of deck, but not impossible, just because he'll only cost 5 if we have 10 or more cards in our trash. But because we're yellow, we have so much card draw, and because we're expecting our rookies to die anyway, our trash will be nice and filled relatively quickly. So we are not afraid to think about utilizing Lucemon to just hard play him and be able to recover 1. Then, if you wanted to, you could run Aruraumon. So Aruraumon is just a level 4 that you could utilize for jamming. So jamming was really good in blue, so it should be really good here too. So he's just a good card to think about utilizing. Then, if you wanted to, you could also think about utilizing the Peter-Tink combo, where it's just a very aggressive combo where you just utilize Petermon to play your Tinkmon from either your hand or trash for free, and that's just a lot of extra tempo and aggression put onto the board that the opponent is now going to have to respond with, and at worst, you could still just Digivolve up into Petermon if you don't feel like you want to utilize him, and it's not like his stats are that bad. And then if you wanted to, you could also think about running Ankylomon, just because he is a security Digimon, so we could try to recover, force him into our security, or if he is in our security, he'll just come out and act as another body on the board to just try to help push the overall aggression of the deck, especially since we know we're trying to race our opponent on our security. Having this card just come out and be a surprise could end up helping take games. Then, if you wanted to, you could also think about running Magnadramon. So Magnadramon is another very powerful Mega with an on-play ability, so it's not like we're trying to Digivolve all the way up into it, where we get to recover 2 if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security. So again, we're trying to race the opponent, so there's a very high chance we're going to have very low security. And Magnadramon just helps keep us in the game. And then on top of which, what we really want to think about utilizing the card for is its ability of when attacking, where we get to play 1 yellow level 3 Digimon from our hand for free. So this is just really good with the overall tempo of the deck, just because free casting our low level Digimon, which our deck is almost entirely of, just helps us push a lot more aggression onto the opponent and a lot more pressure onto the opponent. And then if you want some option cards, you could think about running Eden's Javelin. So Eden's Javelin is just one of the better removal option cards we have. Yes, you could just go 1 more memory cost and play 7 Heavens, so that's also an option available to you, but I just think for what Eden's Javelin is doing, it's just a really good card because it has the main ability of drawing a card, which again just helps us keep our hand as healthy as possible, and we get to reduce one of the opponent's Digimon by 1000 DP for each card in our hand. Most of the time, we're just trying to kill off the blockers, so we just need to have 5 or 6 cards in our hand to kill off almost any blocker in the game, and that's really the only big use on what we're trying to utilize this card for. But if we just so happen to randomly have a whole bunch of cards in our hand, then it can help us pick off even bigger Digimon. And then it has the nice security ability of activating its main, so it's just another card to throw into the security to act as a good threat. And then another card you could think about is going to be Heaven's Gate. So Heaven's Gate is just a pretty underutilized card, especially for this style of deck, because it allows our Digimon to gain plus 3000 DP for the turn. So it could turn all of our 5Ks into 8Ks. It could turn all of our 3Ks into 6Ks. So it's just a very good card to try to de-incentivize the opponent from blocking, while ensuring our Digimon is going to have a higher chance of living through their security. And then it also has a really powerful security ability where all of your Digimon and security Digimon get 5000 DP for the turn, and then you get to add this card to your hand. So not only is it buffing our security Digimon, it's also buffing the Digimon on the field, making it even harder for the opponents to delete them. So for the most part, this is just another Rookie Rush style of deck where the whole point is just to hard play a lot of your low-level Digimon to just try to give the opponent as few options as they possibly can while you're trying to play a whole bunch of Digimon on your turns, so that way you could outflood the opponent and make it very hard for them to come back and respond with. But for the most part, it is just doing almost the exact same thing as the blue-green version, just utilizing a lot of yellow's tools to its advantage, and I definitely think this is a pretty decent deck, and it definitely will get better in the future. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are different ways that you could support me in the channel. So one of those ways is I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so whenever you use that affiliate link to buy cards off of tcgplayer.com, then some of the money will go to supporting me in the channel, and on top of which I also do stream over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so following and subbing is a good way to support me over on that platform as well. And on top of that, I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so whenever you buy one of my designs through them, then some of that money will also help go to supporting me in the channel. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.